This is Fishing Garrett, and he's one of the most captivating people on the internet, attempting things that no one would ever think of doing. Garrett searches for animals in the wildest of places like swamps, rivers, jungles, and even right off the side of the road. His passion for wildlife is unbelievable, and I'm so excited to have him on the podcast. You are not going to want to miss this podcast. We have probably the most fascinating and interesting person I've ever met in my entire life on the podcast today. Someone with millions and millions of followers for the incredible content he puts out there. Fishing Garrett, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having
TikTok. We are so excited to have you. We just had like a mini conversation at the table, and I just can't wait to get into all the questions I have for you because I am just fascinated by him. He's just incredible. So thanks for coming on. This is gonna be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a small conversation. I feel like we really got
it was like a whole podcast already.
We already did the podcast.
Yeah, I got into it.
Pre-podcast. We definitely know what points to hit. That's for sure.
Oh, there's even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is that I've known Garrett we've messaged on Instagram for probably 6 years, and we just met each other in person today.
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
crazy.
You guys are long lost.
Yeah, we've known each other.
I've
known him since high school, since I was in high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you've never actually met.
Yeah, never actually met him in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first
Wow.
time.
And he's staying at my house tonight.
And
Yeah.
you trust him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
I know him.
Okay. So you could build trust over 6 years of just Instagram.
Yeah,
basically.
You don't really know. I mean, like, it could have been really, really weird if you had known it. Like, and it was like, oh my gosh, this person
No, exactly.
is a criminal. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Well, like, he does such cool stuff, bro. Like, you do insane.
If anyone has not seen your content, like, what would you say to them coming to your page? What is the message? What is your message to people? Because your content is, I mean, if anyone has not seen it, I mean, go check it out because it is just, you will just scroll and watch because it is unbelievable. What would your message be to them?
Oh, man, I would have to think about that, exactly how I'm going to word that. But I would say it's definitely different from most wildlife content you're going to see. I focus mainly on wildlife instead of like pets or exotic animals and stuff. I focus mainly on wildlife and Florida wildlife. But I've been branching out to going to different countries like the Amazon rainforest. I'm going to Australia soon. But it's mainly just close-up wildlife interactions.
Right.
Yeah, from me holding the iPhone perspective, I'm like a first-person perspective.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me about how so many people fear certain wildlife.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of your message, right?
Yeah, I want to kind of show people that, like, sure, I do some crazy stuff in my videos, but there's no need to be scared of these animals. Like, people
But having said that, you
have a lot of experience.
You put your hand in the mouth of an alligator.
I don't recommend that. Yeah, I don't recommend that.
How do you know if that alligator is not going to bite your hand off?
Alligators can only see from the side. They can't see directly in front of their nose, but they can feel. So I don't want to touch that mouth when my hand's inside of it. So I can stick my hand directly inside of it. He doesn't know it's there. He's just holding his mouth open. He can see me. He can't see directly where my hand is. And when I pull out and I touch the bottom jaw, it's second. If he feels anything, he's going to shut with 2,000 pounds of force.
So when you stick your hand straight directly in, it doesn't know that hand's there.
Yeah, it doesn't know it's in there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but if he did, he would shut it.
And that's why they say to run.
That's why you've never seen someone do it.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that's actually, that's not true.
That's not true?
No,
okay, we just busted myth number one.
If an alligator is somehow chasing you, which that wouldn't happen in general, unless you're around a female with a nest or you're too close to the water and you are in a position to look like prey. Because the alligator, they don't naturally want to feed on people. They would rather go for something small. Like, let's say like your little dog, for example.
Oh, like, I had a story of somebody got their dog.
Yeah. If you're walking if you're in any body of water in Florida is going to have alligators. If you're walking next to a pond, for example, with a little dog, the alligator's not looking at you, it's looking at that little dog.
Yeah.
And they're not even looking at the dog, they're looking at the movement of the small animal. They take an opportunity. You could go over there and have a stick dragging behind you, and it doesn't matter. The alligator just sees that movement, and they're very opportunistic, and he'll take a shot at it. And that's why you see a lot of people end up getting attacked that have their dogs, because they'll walk too close to the water. They're not paying attention to the alligator coming up to them behind them. And it'll climb up on the bank to grab the dog and may grab you. It doesn't know. Once it grabs you, it's just going to pull you in the water. It's not trying to get you. It's trying to get the dog.
And that's the same with like a crocodile.
It could be different with a crocodile. Yeah, their behavior is different, but yeah, it's very similar.
No.
But different crocodilians have different behavior that you can pick up on.
So, what is the most dangerous animal you've ever confronted?
That's a hard question, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, on the probably the most dangerous, probably the venomous snakes. Like in Florida, we have the eastern diamondback rattlesnake, and that's an extremely venomous snake. And I will handle that snake free handle it. That means like no hook, no tools, nothing, just bare handling it.
And how often do you come across that type of snake?
Oh, preferably on a monthly basis if I can. I look for
You're
them. I
looking
actively
for
look
them.
for them. Yeah, I
Preferably.
Preferably.
looking
I'm like, what?
for
Yeah, I actively look for them, and I don't always free handle, and I kind of limited the free handling content because I don't want to promote dangerous ways to handle snakes. I do really want to do it because I feel like it's right for me, and I feel like that's like my passion.
That's
That's what
your
I want to
passion.
do. But at the same time, on TikTok and other social media apps, I don't want to show the most dangerous form of content handling when I have
Right.
little kids watching me and potentially trying to do what I do. I try to promote I try to promote knowing what you're handling, knowing what snake you're about to grab. You know what I mean? You should never go into it just yoink, whatever it is without knowing. I urge people to know the snake they're handling.
But you also know that that's kind of what social media people want to see, that
It
quick,
is. And
instantaneous.
I try to educate people, but also do an entertainment factor.
Right.
I wish I
Right.
could sit there and tell you for 10 minutes straight about one kind of snake, but no one cares.
Yeah.
I would rather them just see all the Florida snakes and get one thing off of them, which is the name, and know it's not venomous, so they
Right.
don't have to kill it when they see it in their yard.
Right.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's true.
I think it's important to know, like, you're doing entertainment content, but also educational content.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. That's
It is.
really
I try to
hard.
have
Yeah.
to find a balance, and sometimes I push a little bit more on the entertainment when I should be more on the education, and I want to start going more towards the education about it because that's the most important thing. That's what matters. People need to see the educational stuff.
Yeah, and there's a fine line when you're doing social media.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely.
Because you want to do well on social media, but
Because it reaches more people.
exactly
Yeah,
it reaches
absolutely.
more people, which is what you want to do. But you got to balance it out between that and
entertainment and actually
exactly,
educating as
exactly,
well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want a little kid that's watching my video to remember the snake that I just told him about when he when he's in Florida and sees it one day.
Mm-hmm.
Or like whenever he hears something, he can be like, "Oh, that's not true. That's not what Garrett said," or
Right.
Yeah.
something like
And
that.
you know I've never had a conversation with someone that knows more about what you're talking about
Thank
than
you.
you and like Davis. That's
Yeah.
it. And that's only because I have no idea anything about wildlife. But
Yeah.
what you know your stuff and you put it in such a way that's just so captivating. You watch his Instagram reel, you watch the TikTok video, and you're like, whoa. Like
Right.
it just comes at
Thank
you,
you.
and you remember it. It's exactly the way you're talking about it. It really does come. You
Yeah.
can see it.
And so, how much of your content or your searching for these animals is Florida? Is it predominantly Florida, correct?
Yes, predominantly Florida. The main goal of my videos started to be I was removing invasive Burmese pythons out of the Everglades, and they're extremely bad for the environment. They eat all the mammals, and they need to go. There's too
They
many.
all came from South America,
Huh? They came
Yeah.
from Asia.
Asia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. The Burmese python.
Wow.
Yeah, they're extremely invasive, and it's not necessarily that just them existing is the worst thing ever, but there's so many of them. Their numbers are out of control. They wipe out all the small mammal populations. Like there's less rats. I don't even see otters anymore in the Everglades. I barely see raccoons in the Everglades.
Wow.
So
They're
yeah.
getting eaten.
Yeah, they're getting eaten. They're getting eaten by these snakes, and as the snake will start off eating rats, and then it'll eat rabbits, and then it'll eat raccoons, possums.
Why weren't they
And
always doing that?
And then they work their way up to medium-sized alligators and even deer.
Well, like what
Holy
he said,
cow.
he asked if they were always doing that. And it's these people brought these snakes here, right?
Yeah, there's
and
some
started releasing them.
Yeah. There's some controversy. They say a hurricane destroyed a facility and released. That's what started it. But I think it's more. I think it was more of breeders that released them,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, do you
Absolutely.
really think that one place had all these pythons?
No, I
A
think it was
hurricane
a,
hit it, and I mean, it sounds
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
I think it was an
Yeah.
inside job, but that would make more sense too. It's proven to work where people release huge amounts of snakes, and it starts a breeding population.
So,
of them.
so what's the long term of that as these pythons continue to eat these bigger and bigger animals,
It's-
and like what's the end of that? What does that look
there's
like?
no end to
are they
it. We're
coming
never-
out of the Everglades going to eat us?
No.
Okay, good.
That's all he cares about.
It's not that crazy. First of all, like
Okay.
if you go into the Everglades, you're not even going to see one unless you could randomly see one at night or something. But you have to actually have skills and know how to hunt for them. You have to target them by the time of night. You have to target them by the pressure, the temperature, the full moon. There's all kinds of little details, and sometimes it's still a shot in the dark. But it's much trickier to find them than people think. They're not just crawling all over the Everglades. You don't just walk up and see a bunch of pythons everywhere and you have to worry about them or whatever. You can go out there for 2 weeks, all you want, and probably not even see one, especially this time of year.
But you know where you're looking. Like you know where to find them. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
there's
Like
different areas, and I keep track of all my finds and where I find stuff, and I keep going back to different areas and try to target them. But at the same time, you can know all the information you want in the world, and still someone's first time going out there, they could go and find one. I know
Right.
this guy that was his first time going, and he just found one on Turner River that was like 17 feet and almost the world record on weight. So it was like 198 pounds.
That
It
makes
was one
me
of the
shiver while
it
we're
was one of the
talking about it.
fattest snakes I've ever seen, and I really wish I was there because I would have loved to grab that thing.
That's insane.
Yeah, that would have
Oh
been a
my
nice
gosh.
one. It's such a shame to kill such a big snake like that, but it's what we legally have to do. We have to euthanize
Right.
these snakes.
What-
If there was a
what-
way around it for keeping a bigger snake alive, I would go for it right away, but I can't. I have to legally put them down.
When did you start the social media part of this? Where I'm imagining that you were already doing this before
Yeah.
you started social media,
Well,
because this is what you love to do.
I always did the wildlife stuff when I was a kid, but I started with like a fishing page. I started like snook fishing in Florida, and I started catching snook and bass, and just a regular fishing account, catching snook on artificial lures and stuff like that. And I started with a fishing account, and then I started to get where I was posting on my stories and stuff different wildlife, and I liked it more.
Right.
So I wanted to do that. And when I started TikTok, everything changed.
Right.
That's when like certain content just took off because it was different. People never seen it before.
Yeah, I can post all kinds of different content. It's just the Everglades is something I'm always doing, and it really works out best for making my videos.
Yeah.
But I can switch it up.
And is your plan to go outside of the Everglades to different
Yeah.
countries, to different locations?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's your like dream place to go and find a specific type of animal that you've never seen
Well,
before?
I have multiple. It's hard to pick my favorite one, but I've been going to northern and southern Peru, South America,
Cool.
to go look for giant anacondas. Anacondas are one of the heaviest. They are the heaviest snake in the world, and potentially they can get over 30 feet long. And I would love to see one. Yeah.
So what would you do with that snake?
I would
Because
try to
obviously
catch
the one
it.
you hear, you kill it, right? It's a python.
Yeah. Oh,
so
I
you
would never
it.
kill. I would never kill it if I'm anywhere where I don't. I would never kill something unless I legally have to, or I can get thrown
So
in
you're
jail or
just
something.
gonna pick it up?
You can't just pick it up. You gotta. Well, with a snake that's actually really big, I'm gonna need help. And a lot of the time, these anacondas aren't just in the open; they're in floating debris. There's stuff called the floating forest where you literally have thick plant debris and trees. The grass is so thick that trees grow on it, and it's a floating island. And the anacondas live in that stuff.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
it is crazy in that water. Like you'll be walking, just fall right through it, and then you'll get trapped under the grass and you'll freak out. But I'm not even worried about the anacondas. I'm worried about like the weird bugs and stuff, because you get bit. You'll be like in the water and something crazy bites you on the leg, and you're like, wow, that really hurts. I'm like, I wonder what that is.
And you don't know what
And
it
you're
is.
like-
I got bit.
Just walk it off. Just walk it off.
Yeah, just walk
Yeah,
it
just
off.
walk it off.
I stepped on bullet ants. I took all kinds of stings. You're just getting stung 24/7 in the Amazon.
And you walk barefooted, bro.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know why.
And there was some points where I actually
That's
had. I
insane.
hate to.
That's-
He walks
expose-
barefooted.
I
I
hate
know, I
to
saw
ex-
that.
jungle.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that show, Dual Survivor?
Yeah, I did. I love that guy.
You love that guy
I
with
love
the
that
no
guy,
shoes.
yeah.
It's- I used to watch it all the time. I was like,
So
this
for
guy's
anybody
wa-
who doesn't know, he also goes into these places barefoot. So like just to add that on top of it
Yeah,
by picking
yeah.
them up, but also barefoot.
Yeah, I was
I
about
can't
to
even
say.
go
I was
barefoot
about
in
to
the
say the
backyard.
Amazon gets so crazy. Sometimes I actually have to put on shoes.
Oh wow.
In some places, well, there's so many thorns in some of these places that you'll just like, even the locals that live in the jungle and have the most callous feet in the world, even they wear shoes.
So were you ever in a situation where you're like, this is it. I'm not going to make it. Like I'm either you got something, you got bit by something where you're just like, I'm in the middle of nowhere here?
Not quite. I've been lost before in the jungle, and I've been lost in Florida before, but I've never felt like it was all over or anything. I feel like I've always been in control. At least so far, something could go wrong, but as far as now,
are you afraid of that ever
no,
happening?
not really. I don't know. I'm
you seem very optimistic.
Yeah. I'm very like. I'm not trying to sound. I'm not trying to sound like overly confident. No. I don't but I'm pretty confident in my abilities, and I try to. I go out of my comfort zone sometimes, but I try to do it responsibly. Right. If I'm learning an animal for the first time, sometimes I can know all I want about Florida, but when I step into the Amazon, I don't know the animal's behavior like I do with some of the Florida animals.
But is there a situation where you find yourself more in fear, or you just love it so much that you don't have any fear?
I don't have any fear. I'll walk around completely alone in the Amazon, and I feel at peace. It's actually not scary for me. It feels more peaceful than it does in Florida, honestly. But, I've heard some noises, and I'm like, what was that? I'm like, oh.
So 2 things I want to get into when he said that, because we talked about this before. One, I think people would want to know, do you do this alone? Do you go out? You mentioned you film on your iPhone, but are you out there with other people, or is it just you picking up animals?
It seems like you're alone.
Yeah,
like in the videos,
80% of the time I'm alone. Sometimes I'll have a buddy with me, but most of the time when I'm filming, I'm alone. When I get all my best shots are alone. I always do the best.
Wow.
With everything, I always do the best when I do stuff alone.
Wow.
You see more animals when you do stuff.
Why do you think that is? Oh,
it's because like when you're alone, you don't have other people with you. Let's say I have a group of 6 people with me. Everyone's talking.
And it's gonna scare them off.
All the wildlife's gone. Anything cool is any chance of seeing something cool is out the window when you have a bunch of people with you yapping. Right. When I'm alone, I'm completely quiet and I can sneak up on things. I can be really quiet. I can be still. I know what's going on. I'm not distracted, and I can get the best shots. I can see things that you would never see if you had a bunch of people with you. So it's really important I find it really important to be alone. But there's situations where you need people with you. Like I was just saying, like catching a big anaconda, for example, like I'm going to need multiple people because I'm not physically going to be capable of ripping one out of the water,
Right.
I'm going to try. I mean, it's not going to, I'm going to try my best, but.
You were talking about, overheard you before, like you were talking about like,
suspicious.
No, where you're I'm sure if you're out there long enough
times,
you're like, okay, maybe I saw something that I've never seen before.
Oh yeah.
Like
that was gonna be my second question.
Tell us about that. Tell us what you've seen.
There's a few of them. I don't have a ton of like absolutely insane stories. Like a lot of people would come up with everything, but I have a few times where I'm like very confident and I know what I'm like. Let's say I'm in Florida. I'm very confident. Like I can hear bushes rustling, and I can tell you what it is just by how it sounds, just by how the bushes are rustling and the rhythm of the bushes rustling. I can tell you what it is most of the time.
That's incredible.
But every now and then you run into things that you're just not sure about. Like I've seen an animal that I wasn't sure about. I've run across the road in front of me, and I stopped and looked at it, and I still to this day don't know exactly what I saw. I looked at it for 3 or 4 seconds, and that's plenty of time for me to figure out what something is.
What did it look like?
Yeah, describe it.
It kind of looked like a panther, but it had a tail like a panther, but it was different. It had like a greyhound face.
Yeah.
You know how they have a long pointy snout? It had like that, but it had rounded ears, and it looked at me, and it had like a cat eyes. I remember all these perfectly, but I just remembered not knowing what it was. Didn't look like a stray dog. Didn't look like a panther. Didn't look like a coyote, a wolf.
Chupacabra?
I don't know. I don't know about that either. It was also large. It was also like a 50-pound, 60-pound animal, like a medium-sized Florida panther.
Yeah.
But it
was bigger than
different.
You think, or no?
No, like a 50, 60-pound animal, but that's still significant for something that large to be, for me to be unsure about what it is.
Right.
And I looked at it and it ran away, and I tried to follow it, and I couldn't even hear it run away. It was so weird because I'm like keened in on hearing where it went and figuring out what's going on, and I couldn't figure out. And I was immediately like, where'd it go?
And this was in your backyard, your comfort zone.
No, this was in the Myakka State Forest. We have property on the Myakka River in the middle of nowhere, on the west coast of Florida.
Okay.
And this was out there, pretty remote, not super remote, but pretty remote, on a easement road that runs through a power line right before I reached my property. And there's a lot of wildlife there. It's very good wildlife habitat, and that's where I saw it.
I mean, I gotta ask you this question because this is my question. I've been thinking about this the entire time, and I can't wait to ask. First of all, do you believe in Bigfoot? And have you ever seen a creature that you could kind of classify a Bigfoot / Yeti kind of thing?
I have never personally. I've never personally seen it. I've never personally seen like anything that I can say, oh my gosh, that could have been a Bigfoot. I've seen
or
things.
The skunk ape.
I'm very realistic. Like I've seen bears sitting upright from far away, and I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, what is that? Like sitting upright on the side of a tree or something, and it's a black bear. But I'm like, I'm not. My first instinct isn't like, holy crap, that looks like a Bigfoot or whatever. I'm just trying to figure out what it is before. I'm not thinking Bigfoot and everything. But I've been in situations where I've like. I actually didn't even tell you that we were talking about it at the table over there. Well, I told him a whole Bigfoot story.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay,
Let's
so
hear
I was
it.
I can't
on,
wait.
but there's more. There's actually more that I didn't even mention.
Okay.
That's a whole different story that I can kind of add in.
Okay.
So I was paddling up the Myakka River, and I do this often. I go there and I snook fish, and I look for little coves in the river, and I target these snook during the winter, and the water's lower, so I can kind of access some interesting areas, you know. And I was just fishing, and it got late, and it got dark, and this is normal for me. I'm just paddling back in the middle of the dark, and I'm about like 2 miles away from my camp, and I hear some rustling in the bushes, and I'm like, my immediate instinct when I hear that, I'm like, oh, there's like pigs, because it sounded pretty loud, you know. So I like looked over, and I'm like, oh, I scared some pigs or something, because you know when you're paddling, you hit the side of the boat with the oar,
Right.
and it makes like, and it's a 10 boat, so it makes like a loud sound, and it bothers me because I like to be really quiet, but. Right when I did that, I heard some like rustling. I'm like, oh, what was that? And I look over, and I'm like, oh, they're probably pigs. And I keep going, and then I just started hearing some very weird rustling in the bushes that I couldn't quite.
How far are you from shore or the bushes?
I'm in the middle of the river. The river's maybe like it's not that big of a river. It's maybe like 60 feet wide, the whole river.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
you're
like,
close
it's-
enough to shore.
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
could-
Like I'm probably 40 yards away from this sound that I'm hearing. And I can see right in the palmetto fronds, at least like 60, 70 feet. Like I'm looking around, and I couldn't see what this sound was. And it kept going, and it was behind me. And every time I'd hear it, I'd shine, and I would shine directly where I'm looking and expecting to see a pig, or expecting to see an armadillo even, or something weird. But I never saw it. And then as I kept going, it stopped for a while, and I just kept paddling. And then all of a sudden, I hear these weird, like louder footsteps, like something I've never heard before.
Seemed like heavier.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like a person walking in the woods, very noticeable, like footstep sounds. And I stop and I look around, and I shine directly where it is. Like you hear it so clearly, and you think you could find right where it is. Like you think you
Right.
could just turn and just, oh, there it is. But no, like I couldn't see what it is, and it really bothers me when I know something's there, but I can't figure out what it is.
Right.
Right.
So I kept going, and then out of nowhere, I had this log laying in the river right in front of me, and it was crazy because the log, I wasn't over any hanging trees, and oftentimes I am, but I was just in an area where there was no trees on the side of the river, and this log came in like in a cartwheel and landed in the middle of the river.
Kind of like it was launched at you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not even launched at me, but launched right in front of me, like not even super close to me, maybe like 30 feet in front of me.
Okay.
But still, like I was like, what the heck? And it instantly scared me. When I first happened, I initially thought I scared an alligator, and it took off, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I didn't realize it was a log right away. But I just remember glimpsing something, like, and I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, that log just came flying into the river, and I'm like looking around. And then, like, I'm not hearing any sounds or anything moving around. And at this point, I'm like really trying to figure out what it is. I'm not scared or worried. I am kind of like, I'm kind of nervous, but I'm like trying to figure out what it is. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to figure out what this is. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, I
you
saw,
don't strike me as that person.
I just saw Bigfoot. Now I'm going to leave before I get evidence. No, I'm the kind of guy that wants to figure out what I just saw.
Oh, I'm the type of person.
So
who'd
I
be-
go
I'd
right
be
to the
leaving
bank, and
away.
I go right to the bank, and I stand up on my boat. I didn't go like searching for it in the woods, but I just climbed up on my. I got to shore, and I shined around, and I just didn't see anything. And eventually, I gave up and kept going, and I heard a roar, like a crazy deep roar.
Oh, you
like,
didn't tell me
is yeah. This is like 30 minutes later.
I'd be
Dude, this
scared.
this happened like 30 minutes later. This isn't like it just happened after it didn't happen right when the log hit the water. This is like 30 minutes later when I'm already like still wondering what that was, but I'm like just forgot about it. And I'm just going down the river, and I'm trying to get back, and then I heard a crazy like guttural roar that I've never heard before. And I know like almost every animal sound that I've ever heard, like in Florida at least. I can
And
tell
it
you
definitely couldn't have been
can
a
tell you all the
person,
birds.
a person impersonating a roar or an animal sound or anything.
I don't think so. I mean, sure, if there was someone randomly out there in the woods, maybe they could have fooled me, but it was very deep and guttural. You know, it kind of sounded like an alligator bellow, an alligator mating call. If you
We
could
don't
pop-
know what that
Which-
sounds
which
like.
I have
no
but
idea what
that
we've
sounds
never
like.
heard.
If you could pop that up, no. But it's a really deep
Yeah.
bellowing sound. But like I can't really compare it to anything. But it was very maybe like a deeper sound, like a lion roar. But like it didn't, not the rhythm of any of these sounds. It was just like roar. And I was like, what the heck?
So do you believe that that's a
I don't know. There's definitely something out there. There's something out there.
there's multiple things or
There's all kinds of
something
stuff. There's all
we don't
kinds
know
of stuff.
about.
There's all kinds of stuff that we don't know about
Well,
out there. And I'm not one to say like, oh, there's so many crazy things out there to, but like from my experience, I've had a few times where I didn't know what the heck that was, and I got like good look at things, and I still don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Well, that's I think even more powerful is that you're seeing it with your own eyes, something that you're like, I've never seen that before. Like, okay,
And you know everything
something's
in this.
launched at you. You're strolling down the river.
Yeah.
You hear a roar. Certainly, probably is
Yeah.
some sort of animal, right?
Yeah.
Probably not someone impersonating an animal
yeah.
at whatever time you were out there. You were probably
And I'm
going
very
out there.
realistic. I'm not one to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I just heard a Bigfoot like out of nowhere.
Well, yeah,
I'm not,
and
I'm
I
not
was
like
thinking
I'm not
this
like the
isn't
Bigfoot
History
hunters.
Channel
Yeah,
or
I'm not-
Discovery where
Right.
they're trying to
Yeah.
create some story.
Right, like-
he's out
Yeah, the
there. You
Bigfoot
look
show
at
is so
his
fake.
feed. He's out there you're out there just
Yeah,
capturing what it is.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
what's
and both
happening.
and one happened. This didn't happen when I was in the Everglades. Anyways, this happened in the Mayaca. I'm saying the Mayaca has more like mystery than the Everglades because the Everglades has
Really?
been destroyed by the pythons. I would find it that somewhere like the Mayaca or maybe Picayune Strand or different wildlife places more in North Florida would have a more likely chance of having something like a Bigfoot than the Everglades, which has been completely wiped out of most of its natural wildlife.
in the
There's
Mayaca
alligators.
or just in that general region, I've seen that you've gotten the big shark teeth,
Oh yeah.
the Megalodon teeth.
Yeah, in Venice, Florida, you can.
Yeah, I don't even know. Tell
he's
me
got-
about this
he-
now.
So-
he's-
Okay, now I'm getting
When I was
freaked out.
ever since I was a little kid, my grandpa and my dad did construction, and they would always bring in dirt, like from deep underground, and this dirt would have shark teeth in it, fossilized shark teeth, and I would collect them off of the road. They would lay roads with it. They would make piles with it at our properties and stuff, and I would always find them when I was a little kid. So I grew up finding shark teeth, and as I got older, I would start going onto construction
wait,
sites.
sorry.
and-
You found shark teeth on land.
Yes,
Yes.
because Florida used to be underwater.
Right, but that's crazy still.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. That's
and it comes
crazy.
deep from underground, and they dig it up, and then a lot of this material that they're using is good fill dirt or good for
Right.
packing, and it's very useful material, so it's always exposed. You can
Right.
always, a lot of construction sites in the right areas of Florida will have good shark teeth. But you also have to be careful because you're not always allowed to be on these construction sites. So I'd always try to get permission to get on the construction sites to look for these shark teeth. A lot of times when my parents did it, it was easier. But yeah, that's how I started finding Megalodon shark teeth. And they get big. You can find them up to
How
6
big
inches
were
long.
they?
Up to 6 inches long. Yeah.
Like a
I'm-
shark
That's not
tooth.
normal.
and
probably
they
this
say
big.
an inch is 10 feet on a shark, so that could be upwards of a 60-foot.
I mean,
And,
they're-
and,
they're
and,
huge.
and talking about Davis, who knows sharks, what's the largest shark you've heard of in like?
the largest shark that I've heard of, I would say, was the one that. Did you see the one that the woman dived with off of Hawaii? The white shark.
They named it. What was it, like Great Blue or something?
Jaws. Jaws.
Yeah, it should have been Jaws. They named it. I can't remember the name, but it was was it 23?
Deep Blue or Great Blue?
23
23. So this is 3 times the size.
That's what they say. I
potentially.
don't know if I believe
Yeah.
that. but I would believe 20. I don't know about 20.
No, but I'm saying,
Did they actually
but-
say it was 23?
I think they said it was 23.
Yeah, but you're
and
saying the
estimated
shark teeth that
6,000
you
pounds.
found
But-
was 6 inches and 10 feet.
Yeah, that's
per.
a whole different species of shark. We find great
That's,
white.
that's a megalodon.
Yeah, that's a
pretty-
megalodon. I thought that
they
was
don't
a
exist
movie.
Yeah, I
anymore.
thought that was just
Dude,
a
I
movie
thought
that they
was
made
fake. I
up.
thought
No,
it was
no,
a
they're
joke.
No, that's
they're a
real.
dinosaur.
Oh,
They're a
Megalodon's
dinosaur.
real?
They're-
That was real.
Oh,
So
okay.
do we know.
Yeah, it's like,
We know
It was a
nothing
real
about
thing.
this.
I'm not
Yeah,
afraid to say
because
that I'm
the
completely
Megalodons
uneducated
were-
in this department. So
Yeah.
I'm leaning
That's
on you
why
guys.
he's here to educate
Yeah,
us.
seriously.
I'm not a
the
paleontologist,
megalodons-
by the way, but I love finding shark teeth and fossils in Florida. I'm no expert with the
Dude,
fossils,
it's
but
so-
I know
it's so
quite
cool.
a bit. Yeah, I
It's
love
really
it.
cool.
unbelievable.
It's really addicting too, especially when you find one.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have
that's
experience
incredible.
like that,
So
but yeah, I'm sure.
Do you have this shark tooth still or no?
I have a bunch of shark teeth. I have a big
I
collection
know,
of
that's
them
a
and
bad
everything.
question, isn't it?
Yes,
I have every shark. I don't sell shark teeth. They're worth a lot of money because these things are rare. Like to actually find like a 6-inch tooth is.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
That's like super rare. They're worth thousands of dollars sometimes,
Yeah.
depending on what condition they're in and depending on what material they're fossilized in, which would determine the colors of it. And they
Amazing.
can be worth a lot of money. You know.
Bro, can you imagine Megalodon, like a shark that they say could have been probably, what, 40, 50 feet long?
Yeah.
40,
that'd be
50
awesome.
feet long,
I'd love to see one.
20,000 pounds, a shark. Like, not a whale.
You think you guys could catch one?
You think a 130 would
How many
beat it?
how many views on
No?
YouTube would you get for that?
I don't know. That's probably 4 billion. Something like that.
Oh yeah, that would get some views.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So where's your next stop? Where do you want to go next? Where are you?
December 5th, I'm going back to the Amazon because I haven't caught the 20-foot anaconda yet.
You're still searching.
Yeah, I'm still
for
after
You're
that
still-
anaconda, and I hope it's bigger than 20 feet. But
That's what you're aiming for.
yeah, I want the anaconda, but I also want the Burmese python in Florida. I'm like, dude, I've had some bad luck with finding big pythons the past few years. I find a lot of snakes, but it seems like random people go out and find 18, 20 footers.
It's
know,
like a
every
hole in
day.
one.
Yeah,
It's like a hole in
Yeah.
one
Have
for
you
me
seen
right
the-
now.
They come
python
down. They
hunter?
come down from New York, and then their first time hunting, and they're just there at the wrong time, doing everything wrong. And oh, there's the snake. You know, that's just how it goes. Though that's just same thing with shark tooth hunting. Someone's first time shark tooth hunting, they can find the rarest shark tooth of a lifetime.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, that's just be how it works,
Just
and I see
luck.
it all the time. And
Have you seen the Python Hunter?
who?
That's his name, the Python Hunter. He's on
Python.
YouTube, Instagram.
I don't.
He goes to Everglades all the time.
There's a lot of them, man. Which one?
Is there really that many people? who
Yeah,
do
there's
that?
a lot of Python contractors and Python hunters and people that call themselves Python hunters. So I don't know. I need what's his name?
Yeah, I don't even know his name. I just saw him. He was on Joe Rogan for something.
Oh,
really?
that's Python Cowboy. Yeah,
Python Cowboy.
Python
That's
Cowboy.
Who it is.
Yeah.
Do you like him?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
he's good. I don't agree with absolutely everything he says, but he definitely does stuff for conservation. He definitely he definitely does good things for conservation. He does kind of the dirty side of conservation that people don't like to always talk about, like euthanizing the pythons, euthanizing the green iguanas and other invasives. So I don't always agree with everything he does, but yeah, he definitely helps conservation. But I don't agree with, it's hard to agree with everyone, but I can disagree with someone and still can, still see the good in what they do and stuff.
Yeah. Would you ever collaborate with him or do something with him?
Yeah, I would. He has pythons. He has dogs that sniff out pythons.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw that. I saw one of the videos.
That's
he
very
did.
cool, and that's something we need to replicate because that could totally help targeting these python nests. When these pythons build nests, they are almost impossible to find. The only thing you can really go off of is just their telemetry and their natural environment. They tend to lay their eggs up higher to prevent their nest from flooding out. So you can go to higher grounds and look for the nest, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Where,
but if you have
where
a
do
dog
they usually have them? Where do they nesting?
on anywhere higher in the Everglades. So there's a lot of Everglades islands. You have these not salt flats. You have these marshy plains and everything, and you get these islands, and they're a little bit more elevated. They have trees on them, and it's perfect nesting habitat for large snakes.
And you go out on those
I could go
islands?
out there and search all day and not find one, but if you have a dog that can smell the python, it could lead you to it. And I think that's really important that he does that. That's really cool.
What dogs does he have? Like,
I don't
Shepherd?
know.
I
just
I
feel
don't
like
remember
it-
the name of it. It's like some kind of schnauzer thing, big schnauzer thing. He
Yeah.
uses it. He uses it for all of his. Iguana tours to retrieve it. It's a really cool dog. I forget the name.
Yeah.
His name's Otto or Otter, something like that.
Yeah.
Otto, I think his name is. Yeah.
that's cool.
So
cool
you're
dog.
not
I
you're
want
not
that dog.
finding these pythons as often as you want to. You're saying.
Oh no. Like I don't.
I feel like
always-
if I went out in the Everglades first time, I'm seeing a python. It's killing me.
yeah.
And
you
you're-
probably would. You would be the
Yeah,
guy to see
I'd
a
be the
20
guy.
Yeah, you'd be the guy to see a 20-footer right there in the middle of the road, and then
and then never hear from me again.
yeah, then one of the python hunting one of the
get
python hunting
smoked.
ladies.
You're
would-
the guy who
would be
does,
there.
and you're the guy who finds it and wrestles it down and
Oh yeah,
you capture
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, I would love that.
What is the technique?
I removed hundreds this year.
A
What?
python is in front of you,
Okay.
right? What is the first thing you do? Is it grab the neck?
Yes, if you can. If let's say a python's in the middle of the road, very easy, very typical thing to see is a python stretched out straight in the road. They're not slithering in zigzags. They use their bottom scales to push them forward, kind of like a caterpillar. And they'll be in a complete straight line, slowly moving forward. And what you do is walk up and just grab it right behind the neck without hesitating. So I know that might sound easy.
Yeah.
That might sound easier said than done, but It's going to wrap you up. It's going to squeeze you. It's going to poop on you. But you're just going to walk up and grab it right behind the neck.
So
I
you
didn't
can-
even
with two
I
hands?
didn't even know
The
snakes went
snake's
to the
not aware
bathroom.
that you're there. If you walk up and slowly and grab it like kind of gently, it's going to turn and bite your hand. And it's not the end of the world, but you're going to get python teeth stuck in you and you're going to be bleeding and
well,
stuff.
what happens if you grab him and then he decides to wrap around you?
If it's a smaller snake, you just basically can uncoil him. And if you're new to it, you should have someone with you that's done it before. You shouldn't be walking up and catching like a 10-foot
But
python
a big
alone.
one.
Yeah, yeah. You
What
should.
would happen?
Davis, have you ever uncoiled a snake? Because I'm going to need you to do that now.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
The average
but I
python.
would-
The average python's like 6 foot, so that's what I'm basing it off of. But if it was
Yeah.
a really big snake and you were just for to grab it, a larger snake could potentially kill you if it gets around your chest or around your neck or something like
You
that.
couldn't pull that off.
Yeah, you can't pull it off. I mean, I could because I know how to do it, and it would be still tricky for me to do it. But yeah, like if you just didn't know how to do that, you wouldn't know how to get it off you.
Have
and it
you
could
been
kill
in
you.
a
Yeah,
sketchy situation where you feel like
My buddy-
okay, I might be screwed?
My
there.
buddy caught an 18-footer and caught another one that was even bigger than that. This was in like 2019 or something.
18-footer.
Yeah, yeah. And we didn't turn these in. We didn't get them certified. But some of these snakes, there's
Was that 100
a lot
pounds?
of big snakes that are caught that are not turned in that you don't hear about. These snakes were big. One was like 150. One might have been a little bigger. I
Oh
don't know.
my gosh.
But he caught both of these in the same week, and we had these snakes, and I put them both on top of me and let them both constrict me at the same time while I'm holding their heads so they can't bite me. And that was that got too hard for me to handle because
were both
one had one
constricting you.
yeah well yeah because I had one had one arm, one had the other arm, and they had my body and my legs and everything. So
Oh
and these
my
snakes are
gosh.
extremely powerful. They take down 150-pound deer sometimes. So well, maybe not 150. Whatever your
Well,
average Florida deer is.
Yeah, it's
100,
probably
100
80, 70.
80 to 120
Yeah.
pounds. I mean, they could take down a full-grown buck in South Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah, and I had to have somebody help me
Fascinating.
out. And it's not the end of the world. If I really had to get it off, I probably could, but it's still like a moment you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I feel like the anaconda would be way more capable of crushing you than the
But how does
Chinese
it
python.
get to the point where it's going to wrap around you? It bites you first?
Well, if it's trying to, it depends. Like, if I grab it wrong, it's going to bite me and then wrap me up.
It'll bite you and then wrap.
Sometimes it does a defensive strike where it strikes you, and if you happen to be where it can bite you, it'll bite and let go. But sometimes if you're holding onto the snake and then it bites you and then it wraps you, then it'll sometimes hold on.
How many times have you been bitten?
Oh, I get bit hundreds of times.
Hundreds of times.
Let's say if I
ever
have
or
a good,
100
if I have a
times?
good night out there and I have a bunch of snakes from a good night with me and my buddies, me and all my buddies catch a bunch of snakes and we take a picture of them. We lay them out and we film with them live, and I'll get bit 20, 30 times. And I don't
In that
mind.
night?
Yeah, yeah. And these are snakes. These are snakes anywhere from 5 to 10 feet. And after they get around 10 feet, I don't particularly like to get bit by them. It's okay if it gets me on the leg, but I don't like if it gets me in the fingers and stuff because it'll break off teeth in you. So that's no fun.
Oh, because some of those little ones have the little.
Yeah, yeah.
thin
Then you get teeth broken off in your hands. And if you ever get bit by a python, it's important not to snatch away. People do that. They're so nervous. They go and they grab the snake bad. It turns and bites them, and then they snatch their hand away. What you just did is broke off all those teeth into your hand.
Into your
You're
hand.
better off just to hold it there, and either if it bites onto you, their teeth are hooked like a fish hook.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just pull up. You want to go forward
And then
and then up. So kind of forward and then up, and it's
it's
like
good
I
to
said,
know.
like I said, if you're,
Just in case.
if you're
Just in
if you're
case.
python hunting, I recommend having someone with you that knows what you're doing, not just coming to Florida and being like, let's go.
Oh,
I
lot of
guarantee
people-
you we won't be
Yeah.
python
Yeah.
hunting.
And
But
I
if
actually
we
like-
are, you're hired.
I actually like these snakes. I don't particularly like
actually,
killing
we
them.
should go python hunting with Garrett.
Yeah, we can do that.
With Garrett, but with no one else.
No, we'll go with Garrett. That
Yeah,
would
yeah.
actually be.
You could.
The
It
best
doesn't. It
thing
doesn't
ever.
have
And
to be
I'll
me.
film it.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of experienced guys. I'm not the only one out there. There's a lot of guys that aren't on social media that are very experienced, and they can also take you.
Well, as far as the bites from I'm so baffled right now by the snakes.
Yeah, you might
I'm
wanna-
like thinking spiders, everything I'm afraid of. So how many of them have been venomous that you've been bitten by?
I haven't been bit by any seriously dangerous venomous snakes. I avoid that at all costs. I don't want to get bit by any venomous snakes in Florida.
Okay.
But I've been bit by mildly venomous stuff from different countries.
that's nice.
Even the garter snake in Florida is mildly venomous, and people, depending on who you are and depending on how your body reacts to it, their saliva is venomous. So.
Garden snake?
The garter snakes. They have little fangs,
Yeah, yeah.
rear
Those are
fangs.
venomous?
They're mildly venomous.
I didn't
So
know
they
that.
eat a
I
lot of
thought they
toads.
were like a black racer. I
So
thought they were
is the
harmless.
hognose snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, the eastern
can-
hognose and the western hognose.
Wow.
And the
I could
southern
almost
hognose.
deal with the snakes, I think.
I can't do spiders.
The spiders,
Worst thing ever.
that's where, like, when you get the
Don't
tarantulas
even
or
talk. I
whatever,
don't want
like,
to.
yeah.
I really don't
like,
want to.
which
The
one's more
tarantulas are
dangerous?
babies. The tarantulas I'm perfectly comfortable with. The second I was in the Amazon, I was ready to hold those things, and they are wild, but they're very easy to handle. They're not deadly. They're just intimidating because they're big, but sometimes they're a little jumpy, and you're like, whoa.
But do they bite?
They don't want to particularly.
But
You would
they
have
will.
to make it bite you, really. If I did something wrong, let's say I like cornered it and grabbed it the wrong way, then sure, it could bite me. But it's pretty easy holding tarantulas. And if you've held them before, in the pet stores or your friend has one or whatever, it's very similar. And I don't find tarantulas very intimidating at all.
What about like the real venomous?
The wandering spiders, I poke those, and those are deadly. Potentially deadly.
Black widows.
Huh?
Black widows.
Black widows, that's something that doesn't... Yeah, black widows, but they also are very hard to get bit by because they have tiny fangs. Like, I would hold it right here in
What
my
about
hand.
those?
Really?
Yeah, and be confident it couldn't bite me. You could probably even push it to you. And like, they're very misunderstood. They're hard to get bit by.
Yeah. What about the recluse spiders? Like, aren't those like potentially deadly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think those are in Florida. Those are more Georgia, more South Florida. I mean, southern United States area.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I don't see those a whole lot. I've seen them in somewhere. Where was I? Oh, Georgia, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seen them in
Georgia. They have
seen them in
North Florida,
Georgia
too.
and stuff. In North Florida.
Yeah, like
Okay, yeah.
Jacksonville. So I have this question. So you recently, your videos on Instagram have been going insanely viral.
Oh yeah. But I was banned for 7 months one time, and I had to start working again, and that was pretty rough.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah,
my
but they give it back
gosh.
randomly, and I'm pretty sure it's my fans
It's not-
reporting it and
Yeah, I was
telling
about
them
to
to
say,
give
you
it back. It's my
posted
fans
on
for
your.
sure.
He posted on his stories for his fans to basically what
Report that my
report-
account was wrongfully banned for
Yeah,
no reason.
Yeah,
like
and
there's
I
been
think you got so many people who did that.
Yeah,
that
they just give
Instagram
it
kind of
back.
had no choice.
And now I kind of got them used to doing that, so it works. But at the same time, like TikTok's been decent to me. Instagram has been random. Like I've randomly, it's just people mass reporting random stuff, and then Instagram just banning my account. I've had that happen multiple times, but it hasn't happened recently. Ever since I've been verified, at least it hasn't happened as much. But it was really bad for a while.
It's all the work
When I'm-
that you put in. It's just
And
like,
Yeah,
people
it's
don't
gone.
see.
Man,
It's
it's
just
like-
like what?
Yeah.
one thing is having
It's
to go
hard
back to
dropping.
work. It's just you put all that work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be if I didn't have social media, I'd be perfectly fine. I'd still do everything I'm still doing.
I believe
Yeah.
But
it.
it would
I believe
it would be hard because I would have to get another job again, and the long term I would like to make enough money to buy property in Florida to preserve it, because Florida's overbuilding so bad. It's they're worried about the pythons, but we're gonna destroy Florida before the pythons ever get a chance to, because they do so much.
Developers.
They develop so much. That's how I'm finding so many shark teeth, because they're developing so much on
They're building up all the
yeah,
dirt.
they don't care. Like they'll say, like you can read all these things, and they'll say they remove this or that, and they're doing it for the environment. They save some of the environment, but when you branch off all this environment and everything, it's really that's what led to the eastern indigo snake going critically endangered. It's going to lead to the Florida panthers going extinct. It's going to just destroy Florida's wildlife. And it may look like New York City, but it's not supposed to be New York City.
Right.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to be natural.
Yeah.
All the cow pastures in Central Florida and everything, that's what we have left right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a real problem with all the overbuilding in Florida. It's gonna have some serious consequences in the future, and that's why I try to tell people not to kill venomous snakes like eastern diamondbacks, because eventually, at this rate, they're gonna end up in the same position the indigo's in, and I could totally see that happening. And I'm just like scratching. I'm just
Never had so
scratching
much
the surface. I can get into it more deeper, but that's like I can just basically say Florida has a huge overbuilding problem with cookie cutter developments.
Where do you think in
It's
the United
disgusting.
States? Where do you think in the United States, from your researcher understanding, has the most wildlife? Which state?
Florida for sure.
Florida for
yeah,
sure.
Florida has
Wow.
the biggest biodiversity of any place. There's so many different habitats. It's not just Everglades. You have
Especially with Miami.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many different environments in Florida. You can, and as you go north, the environment changes. Like it doesn't quite look
It
like
is,
Georgia.
yeah,
It doesn't
that's
quite
true.
look like Florida. Like there's so much biodiversity.
Yeah,
It's
true.
insane, and it's the most unique state out of all of them.
I would have thought like California or something, because there's so many diverse type of.
California's probably up there.
Yeah,
I would say
yeah, definitely.
California's up there.
Definitely, there's a
Florida.
lot of places that are very comparable on biodiversity, but Florida has Florida has the most insane, like people don't think about it, but like it has so much different habitat for different animals, and it's really important, and it's one of a kind, and you can't, the more you build, the less of this is going to exist in the future.
Right.
And they don't care. They'll do it. They're working on it.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Well, you also had at the same time so many people moving to Florida.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
I'm perfectly
like
okay
two
with
things
that.
clashing.
I'm not against.
Demand.
I'm not against people moving to Florida, but it becomes a point to where it's just insane.
Yeah.
Like we're not supposed to have this. Like it's already crazy. But like you can't even drive on the streets anymore during the wrong time of year.
Yeah.
Like that's why I like being out at night so much. I can't go and drive and relax in the middle of the day. You're just stuck in traffic. You feel like you're in New York City or something. But at night, at 3 a.m. nobody's out, so that's when I'd rather be out.
Well, the traffic.
I really hate being around big groups of people too.
Yeah.
People are just the opposite of wildlife.
Yeah.
Wherever there's people, there's no wildlife. So I don't want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the traffic is definitely a different perspective from where we're coming from in New York. It's all traffic. There's no traffic.
There's
no traffic here for us at all.
Yeah, that's true.
I forgot you're from New York.
Yeah, but it is definitely.
I hate to call it New York like that, but I'm just it's I can name a million cities.
You're right. You're 100% right. But I'm saying is, believe it or not, what does Florida have, like 23 million people or something like that?
Yeah, and the number's growing.
Yeah, the number's growing.
It's insane.
So that is a clash for sure. The animals and people just.
And a lot of these people don't care about the wildlife or even consider the wildlife. A lot of them come to Florida and then see an alligator in their backyard and they're surprised and they immediately call 911 and get FWC to go remove this alligator that's just simply existing.
Yeah.
A lot of these, they'll call it a nuisance alligator removal when a lot of the times it's an alligator,
Yeah.
It's in the pond. It looked at you or something.
Yeah. Well, actually, one alligator was in my neighbor's pool once. And I saw it.
Yeah, that
literally.
happens.
Just went right into the hot tub. I thought it was a floaty at first, and then I looked over the gate, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my god,
not a floaty."
A lot of the times in Florida, they'll have a pond or a lake, and then houses all around it with pools, and of course that's going to happen.
Yeah.
They just see the alligator just sees a body of water, and they won't spend a lot of time in there because the chlorine can't feel good on them.
Yeah.
But they'll go in there. A lot of things go in there. Turtles too. But
I
like I was saying, a lot of alligators
once.
aren't nuisance alligators. They're just alligators existing, and people call the police on them because they're not from here and they don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'm willing. I just say if you're going to move to Florida, at least be willing to understand the wildlife before being scared of it and calling for it to get removed and killed. And sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes someone's feeding the alligator. Sometimes it's a potentially very dangerous alligator and needs to be relocated. I hate to say kill, which they're going to probably do, but I would wish they would relocate it. Alligators aren't endangered by any means. They're very abundant in Florida, but I find it unnecessary to kill every single alligator that's removed.
Right.
They can totally be released somewhere.
Yeah, and I would say, so to wrap up, what would you say your final message is to people who view your content, people who've never seen your content, about what you do?
I would just say, oh man, I'd have to think about that. That's a big question.
It is.
Sometimes I ask myself that.
Well, I think it sounds like you're doing what you love.
Yeah,
and
right
I
now
think
I'm
that's
just-
a big message that people don't realize. You know how rare it is to find somebody who's doing what they love to do and don't have to go to the job that they
100%.
were working before.
Yeah.
What were you doing before this?
I worked with a conservation company called Wetlands Management. And we would basically do treatments on invasive exotic plants. We would do wildlife surveys.
Okay, got it.
Stuff like that. So I was still doing what I love, but that's more,
Right.
hard
Different,
labor.
Yeah.
Tree removal with chainsaws and stuff, invasive tree removals and stuff. And I still like doing that. And it's just hard work. I still love it, though. I still see wildlife that's as close to wildlife as I can get,
Mm-hmm.
But
So you're just putting out there what you love.
Yeah. Right now I'm just following my passion.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can, like I said, hopefully in the future I can preserve more land in Florida and other places too. I'm branching out right now, and it's just the beginning. Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
awesome. Well,
Honestly,
we really
just
appreciate you.
absolutely
Yeah, we appreciate
amazing.
you coming, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a whole lot more I could talk about. And
My
We'll
favorite
have
was
you
the
on for
Bigfoot
another
thing.
time.
yeah.
I love the Bigfoot. I love the.
We don't know if it's Bigfoot.
Oh, I
He's not
forgot to
claiming it's
mention-
Bigfoot.
I keep forgetting. I'm so ADD. I get distracted on half my subjects, and I go off a topic all the time. But I've actually heard wood knocking as well. And
What's
that's what the Bigfoot hunters say Bigfoot uses to communicate. So what it is basically wood on wood contact, like hardwood on hardwood, and it makes like a clunk sound.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like loud clunky
And you've
sound.
heard that, and it's like a repeated.
Yeah, if you've ever watched like Finding Bigfoot, the fake TV show on Animal Planet.
The fake TV show.
Well, that's
Little subtle,
I'm
little
just
subtle shot.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
I'll call it all that fake stuff. There's
Well,
so many. There's so many.
Have you ever
Right.
been called?
All the wildlife
Have you
stuff
been
is so
called
fake
by
nowadays,
any? Have
too.
you been called by any of these shows or channels?
Yeah.
For wildlife, and say we want to.
Yeah, I've had offers to be on the news, TV, and everything, but like
Not your own show though. I'm saying like to base a show around you and like kind of what the guy.
Yeah, actually,
Irwin did.
I'm in talks with that. I'm in talks with
Okay.
someone that wants to build a TV show, and it's the real deal. So that's something more. That's something more in the near future, not right away. I could just jump on that, but I feel like I could grow myself a little bit more and establish myself better. And I want to work with biologists and research and do the good for the environment and
Right.
the wildlife. And I actually want to produce good research.
And you want to keep it authentic
Yeah,
too.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
I think if a lot of researchers come with me, I can help them. I could help benefit the wildlife community quite a bit.
That's
And I don't
awesome.
always talk about it a whole lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a whole lot.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Garrett. Honestly, I think that might have been one of my favorites. Like, that was so, so cool. And getting to know you and just learning so much, like, I mean, I just feel like I've never heard anything like this before.
A
And
lot of good stories.
I mean, a lot of good stories, but I'm just so educated. I feel like I had no idea anything
So
about
you're gonna
this
go
kind
right
of-
into the Everglades tomorrow?
No, absolutely
Let's
not. You
go.
will not find me there for a long time unless it's with Garrett. But otherwise, I am not going in there. But thank you guys for watching. That was so cool. Comment your favorite part about this video and what you guys want to see next on the podcast. But this was incredible. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.